Hi, everybody. Welcome along to this edition of SportsView on learmedia.tv. Press the red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel. The usual. Good evening, Joe Waters. All the way from the good old USA with the sun shining in his window. There you are now, lads. And
no.
Good evening, Derwynne, from Wembley in London, from freezing cold Wembley in London.
How are you, Pat? How are you, Joe?
Good night. How are you?
We're going to be looking at soccer, Formula One, rugby, golf, and tennis, whatever comes into our head. We generally start off the program with soccer. And in the Premiership, there was wins for West Ham, Fulham, Newcastle, Liverpool, Spurs, Villa, Bournemouth, and Man City. We had the Manchester Derby, and I thought, did anyone see Ten Hag's, one of his interviews? I don't know which one it was, after the match. Did you see it?
I saw it, yeah.
The interview on 5 Live on BBC, where he was actually praising the team, how well they played.
Yeah.
I, as a United fan, I don't quite understand what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I think totally outplayed.
They were, but in fairness, though, they got the start they needed in that Rashford got a cracker of a goal. The referee, there's an awful lot of referees, I won't say they're cowards on the field, but they depend on VAR too much, in my opinion. I saw most of the match because my young lad is a Man United fan. That two-legged tackle by the goalkeeper in the box, if that was outside in the field to be a free, there'd be a foul and a card. But because there's Man City goalkeeper at home in the box, in my opinion, he gave nothing for that tackle.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I understand what you're saying because I've seen them given for undue force outside.
Yeah.
And that is.
It was a 2-footed tackle.
But I mean, he did a pretty good job of coming across and getting the ball. And Garnacho did not touch the ball, And I think he was at this stage just hoping that he was going to get a penalty out of it. But to be honest, I thought initially, whoa, VAR's going to have a good look at that. But then I looked at it and I went, nah, I don't think so.
What do you think, Derwynne?
I'm still trying to get my head around the whole thing with Ten Hag. I mean, Joe, come on, Joe, you've played, you've managed. You get beaten like they got beaten. They got it bad, didn't they?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The goal was a huge shot in the arm for him. And that really gave them something to hang on to and fire it up for a bit and keep it going. But the problem when you're playing a team like City, and even if you're United and you're playing, you're dropping back and you're playing a low block, you're still having to move your feet all the time to cut out the gaps when City move the ball and when they're probing and just getting you to lose concentration one time.
Yeah.
And then they'll penetrate with the pass. And that movement from side to side and stepping into the ball to cut down the angles to play around you is very, very tiring. And that's eventually, I think, what happened to him is that, City just play you to death. And I think what happened was for Phil Foden's first goal.
Yeah, he walked the ball into the net. The Man United goalkeeper should have done a lot better for a keeper.
It was a good shot, though. I mean, it's hard to not say that. The first thing that I would question is Lindelof allowing him to go inside.
Yes.
And that to me is when you've got a left-footed guy facing you up and he's coming inside you, everyone knows what he's going to do, right? And then I think by Lindelof letting him inside, he kind of caught Johnny Evans by surprise because Johnny Evans could have stepped to the ball and maybe done a better job with it. And the young kid, the 19-year-old, he kind of, instead of getting across the ball, he kind of did a twirl he's come across with his left shoulder in, and instead of stepping into it, he does one of these and the ball flies past him. I mean, at that stage, you've got to come across and get some part of your body on the ball. That's your job as a midfield player when a guy cuts inside.
Yeah.
You forget about marking and you step across the ball is the danger.
Yeah.
And so there were a couple of mistakes, but there maybe were tired mistakes as well because they had been under the cosh for so long. And you know,
let's face it, Haaland missed a few chances too, didn't he, in the first half?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all well and good saying United's goal was, without being funny about it, it's a wonder goal, but he could stand there with a bucket of footballs again and not do that.
Oh yeah. But yeah. I mean, when you go to a place though, like City, you're hoping for a break that's going to get you a little bit of breathing room to keep you in the game. Because I mean, if you go a goal down early on, then it's like it's like the Alamo. They're going to be coming over the wall all over the place at you. So
well, I mean, that the opposition has to score 2 goals. Then I know they're Man City, but they got everything in their favour for the first 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. Man United, that is.
Yeah.
And next Sunday you have Liverpool and Man City. Now Liverpool will be a lot stronger team for City than United were.
Yeah, there will be.
Let's face it. I mean, City.
Interesting.
City could give most teams a 2-0 head start, couldn't they?
Well, they can. And I mean, let's be honest here. When you look at yesterday's game and you look at City's outstanding players, the ones that you expect them to be on the ball and what have you, Bernardo Silva didn't have a great game.
No.
It was very quiet for him. Haaland was quiet, wasn't on tune yesterday.
No.
And then you look at who else did they have there?
Foden has been their player of the year so far.
Yes, he has.
In my book. And from an English point of view, from an English team point of view, you had Foden and you had Rashford, doing the best he could. So from an English point of view, it augurs well for England, as well.
Yes, yeah, it does.
I don't think Rashford would make the England team though. If they were playing a proper match next week on Saturday, for argument's sake, I don't think Rashford would make the team.
No,
he would be in the start 11.
Harry Kane would be in there.
I'd agree with that. I mean, apart from his goal yesterday, really.
Yeah.
What else did he do? He had the header that went a little bit astray for him when he was through. He had he had a very difficult one where he miskicked the ball at the back post when the ball came through to him. That I don't know if the ball was meant for McTominay or for Rashford when it was played in, but it was a very difficult one for him to get on the end of. But then after that, he kind of faded from the game. And realistically, for the goal, when he and Walker are going for the ball, I mean, he is very weak in that challenge. And I mean, he's looking for the free kick.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on. 2 players running side by side. I mean, you expect there to be contact. It's contact sport. We're all taught as kids that it's okay for you to lay your shoulder into somebody, shoulder to shoulder, but Rashford doesn't even, stand up to that. And he goes down looking for the foul. Yeah. And I think, he had a great start to it, but I kind of agree with Derwynne there. I don't think that he is, he's done all year for him to be in the England team.
Yeah.
I think
let's face it, your front 4 for the England team would be Bellingham, Saka, Kane, and Foden.
Yeah.
That would be your front 4 players, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they would. That's true.
And Rashford's not Bellingham, and he certainly ain't Saka.
No.
And I don't think he's a Foden, and he obviously isn't.
He's not. He's not. I mean, Phil Foden is well ahead of him in what he's doing at the minute.
For Foden is well ahead of Rashford. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
What about my team, my poor old team, Luton Town and Villa? I mean, they were 2-0 down. That is Luton Town, and I was saying to Joe before we came in here, they came back well. I missed the start of the match. I was coming home. My son said, it's all right, Dad, they're down 2-0 already. So I went in to make a cup of tea, and they got one back. They came back well, but I mean, the winning goal they gave away was just horrific.
They're just, I mean, I think Luton are actually, I hope Luton stay up, but I think they're leaking too many goals, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, they lost 4-3, they lost 3-2, they lost 2-1. They lost 8 of their games by the odd goal, you know. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, there's two ways to look at that. You know, one way is that you're leaking goals, and but the other way to look at it is that they're really not that far off. You know, considering the start that they had up to Christmas, where it was very difficult for them. And then all of a sudden they get on a little bit of a run of form, and they start getting results against teams around them and what have you. So I still think that there's maybe a little bit more about this. I think that I think that they can catch Forest. I think they can, and that might be what saves them. Because I think Burnley are down. I think Sheffield United are down, and then it comes.
Just SportsView the program on Monday, the 4th of March, 2024, and at 8:10. Arsenal are going to hit after 10 minutes. Odegaard is after scoring, so they're going to pick up their 3 points, as we said beforehand. That's the last of the Premiership matches of the weekend. And Luton are away now to Crystal Palace next week, so Man United are home to Everton. Because they might get something of that. Yeah, they might get something.
I mean, Palace are playing well, but they've got players dropping like flies. So it's a game that might come at the right time for them, that they can get a decent result out of it.
Well, we have Liverpool and Man City in Anfield next Sunday at 3:45, lads.
Well, after what went on this weekend with Liverpool, I hope City smash them. The nonsense that went on with that Liverpool game.
Who are they playing again?
Everton, wasn't it? No, not Everton.
Forest.
Forest, yeah.
I didn't see that match. I didn't see that.
Well, the drop goal, not the drop goal, the drop ball thing, and I mean, just shambolic. I mean, honestly.
What was that?
With the drop ball situation with the referee, and I mean, Forest have the ball.
Yeah.
And he does a drop ball situation for the Liverpool goalkeeper, and it was like, wasn't just after play either. Play had moved on, hadn't it? Away from that whole situation, and that referee dropped a clanger there, didn't he?
Well, he did. As it was, Pat, was that Kelleher and Konate kind of collided with each other.
Yeah.
They got a head injury. Was hitting the head. Well, the ball is cleared outside the box, and it goes to a Forest player. Well, the referee sees Konate on the ground, and he blows the whistle. So the ruling is that if the ball is outside the box, then whichever team is in possession gets the drop ball.
Yeah.
Right? Well, the referee gave the drop ball to the Liverpool goalkeeper.
Why?
No one knows. But now, but previously in the game, the same thing had happened on the other side of it, with Forest getting the ball when Liverpool should have got it. So it's kind of, he's made the same mistake on both teams, but because Forest didn't defend it properly.
Well, Liverpool scored from it, didn't they?
I think that it was like about a couple of minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
It wasn't directly from them getting the ball and then doing it. I think there was a couple of other attacks that went on, but I mean, so given all that, and okay, the mistakes is made on both sides, and you still, like we're talking about with Luton Town, you still have to defend your back post.
You do.
They did not defend their back post, so it, you give up the goal like that. So it's I don't know. It's very hard, and then you get. I mean, so now I go to the next part of this, and you've got Mark Clattenburg now. He's employed by Forest as a referee advisor.
Yeah.
Right. And he tries to go in the referee's room after the game to talk to the referee. What right has he got to do that?
None.
None whatsoever.
No.
None whatsoever. I have no idea what the guy is thinking about. No idea. And then he makes a statement like, well, our owner is not pleased, and he shouldn't be after a major mistake like that. Well, hang on a minute. Referees make mistakes all the time.
They do.
And it's part and parcel of the game. So all of a sudden, you've got the shoe on the other foot now. You're being paid by the club now to be their advocate. I mean, if I was the referees, I'd turn my back on that guy in a second. I wouldn't have anything to do with him.
No, that is wrong. No, the Premiership, as I said, after the weekend's matches, Liverpool are on 63 points, and Man City are on 62, Arsenal are on 58, but as we say, they're playing tonight, so that we'll give them 61. Villa are 55, Spurs are 50, and Man United are on 44 in 6th place. So they're all after 27 games, except Spurs, who have a game still to play, but it won't change their position even if they win it. So that's the Championship itself, we'll just go away from the Premiership, is hotting up a lot. You still have, I suppose, the Tractor Boys and the Foxes and Leeds and all heading the bunch. Leicester City are on 78. Ipswich are on 75. Leeds 73. Southampton 70. West Brom then 59. Hull 56. And Norwich City 55. That's in 2, 4, 7 places. They have 11 games left. It looks like that Leicester and Ipswich could go gain automatic promotion if they keep winning the way they are, but if they hold their form. So, as we said before, you could have Ipswich, Leicester and Leeds up in the Premiership with Sheffield United, and who else is to go down from the Premiership?
Well, so who we got? Well, we got Sheffield United, Burnley, looking the most danger right now. Luton probably are the third ones trying to chase Forest and Everton, who lost again at the weekend.
Yeah.
So that would be that's going to be interesting.
It is.
It's going to be really interesting with the top of the league there in the Championship, because, like I said earlier when we were talking before, Leicester have a 40 goal difference, but Leeds United have a 37 goal difference.
They have.
And Ipswich only have 20. So that's like an extra point when you're looking at it from that standpoint, But to me, I mean, Ipswich are a good team. I don't think, I don't doubt that one bit. But Leeds, I have a real sneaky feeling that Leeds are going to be the second place team. And I think Leicester will probably end up top.
Yeah, you can be right there, yeah. Southampton are playing very well. They're on 70 points. They're only three points behind Leeds. So
Yeah,
they'll have a say in it as well, you know.
yes, they will.
You know.
And it'll be interesting to see. I mean, to be honest, I didn't look at the remaining fixtures to see who's got who in it, but that's going to be interesting if some of the top boys have got to play each other. I think Leeds and Leicester have played each other twice already. Ipswich and Leicester have played each other twice already. So that's kind of in Leicester's favour that they won't have to face any of those two again.
I don't know, guys, what are you watching over the weekend? But the Formula One season kicked off over the weekend, and I saw a bit of the race, but I suppose we could say who won it, who was first and second again. I mean, it's so depressing to me as a fanatic Formula one time. Red Bull first and second, and Ferrari third and fourth. I mean, you know, and Red Bull, they were untouchable. I thought when they changed the rules a couple of years back, maybe things have moved faster than I recall in my mind. That the whole idea of the rule changes was to equalize the cars, equalize the cars, so the race will be more competitive. I know there's the drivers as well. You went down to the drivers, but that doesn't seem to be happening at all. They seem to be a lot more interested in what's happening. The boss of Red Bull rather than the car driving itself. Derwynne, did you see any of the Formula One?
I watched a little bit of it, but I to be honest with you, I just kind of struggle with Formula One now because it's just a procession, isn't it? Really,
it's a question of as soon as they get their act together and go ahead, that's the end of it. The race is over.
Yeah, and you got Red Bull so far out in front of everybody else.
Yeah.
With their car, it's I always fascinated with Formula One because you sit there and you think of that team who comes last every race, and they're spending millions, I mean billions, aren't they?
Yeah.
On Formula One, and you sit there and kind of go, well, what's the it's a bit like the three of us having a race with Usain Bolt every month, isn't it?
Yeah.
You kind of go, well, eventually someone's got to go, well, this is getting a bit silly, boys, because we ain't going to beat him, are we?
No.
I mean, so I don't quite get, I nearly feel like it needs to be 6 cars rather than 20 or whatever it is.
But what are we saying? Is it? I mean, you're right in one respect. I mean, why you're 20th? Your car is 19th and 20th in every race. Surely you must be getting an income as a business as own to keep that on the road.
Yeah, they're getting sponsorships and all the rest of it. But I mean, I guess that's companies who can't afford to put their logos on a Red Bull car or a Ferrari car or a Merc car. But
true.
But you do sit there and I mean, being competitive, you sit there and kind of just go, I don't what's the drive for that team every race to go, well, what are they trying to do? Are they just trying to finish 15th rather than 20th? Because they're never going to finish first because they haven't got the technology.
No.
And what's the factor in it? I don't get it. I don't understand it.
And there's the thing I like. There's 3 British drivers on Formula One, and they were 5th, 6th, and 7th. I think. Yeah. There's Norris and what's the other fellow? Lando Norris, Hamilton. Who's the other chap?
Russell, isn't it?
Russell. Norris, Russell, and Hamilton finished 5th, 6th, and 7th in the race, which is incredible, really.
I just don't quite get it. I don't know what's the factor for you to be at the back end of the start grid every single week.
Of course,
I don't get it.
I suppose in a lot of ways it's like a lot of sports, really. I mean, you look at the Premiership, you look at it, and there's only 3 or 4 teams ever going to be competing to win that, and everyone else is just making sure that they stay in there. And they're sharing the spoils at the end of it, and they get the TV money out of it. So, I mean, for me, looking at the Formula One thing, it has to be there must be some benefit to the owners. There's certainly something coming back in terms of
I think so. I think
recognition.
There's huge money coming into Formula One from the upsurge in the Grand Prix races in the wider Middle East area, like Azerbaijan and Bahrain and Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia. There's huge, like in snooker now. There's a huge snooker tournament coming up in Saudi Arabia. It's only for the top 8 or 10 or something, and there's huge money.
Yeah, I mean,
the drivers must be, hoping that they're going to move up in the standings as well and be recruited by one of the top teams or the higher up teams to make them move along. It's an interesting sport. I mean, like right now, it seems to be like Red Bull on the outside of it seems to tear themselves apart with what's going on internally there. I mean, I'm reading stuff in the papers over the weekend, and it's like, really?
Well,
you've got the Thai owners have got 51% of Red Bull. Then you've got the son of Red Bull, as in the son of the man who invented Red Bull, who's got 49%. And basically, neither of them like the antics of Honan that's going with what's going on.
But wasn't he found not guilty?
He was from an internal thing, but they're saying that wasn't exactly.
But all of a sudden, there's I don't know how many emails or texts that have been put out into the public purview that weren't released before, and the name of the lady that's involved in the accident has been released also.
And they reckon it's Verstappen's dad that's doing the leaking.
Yeah. Well, he and Christian Horner don't.
I think he doesn't particularly like Horner. I don't think.
No, he does not. And it makes you wonder if he's not after Horner's job.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
You sit there and shake your head, don't you? Because it's. But I think that a lot of. I mean, it's not just in motor racing, is it? I think some of them start getting bigger than the sport themselves, don't they?
They do.
Look,
you had
the Benetton guy, Flaggertoni, or whatever his name.
Yeah, you had your man Frank Williams for years as well. Frank Williams, who was
Ron Dennis was the same, wasn't he? Ron Dennis got the same way with McLaren, and they shifted him back into just selling cars, street cars, normal cars. Took him away from F1.
Well, we wish Formula One the best, but I mean, really, the reason it must be a viable business from the point of view of the money garnered from the television rights alone must be make it all a viable business for the 20 teams or the 10 teams that are in it. Is it 10 teams or 2 cars each? Yeah. So anyway, you never know. Oh, the URC and rugby was on this weekend. There's a gap weekend in the Six Nations until we get over to Twickenham to slaughter the English next weekend, and all the Irish provinces, to be fairly warm there next weekend, or Derwynne, you'll be nice and warm next week.
I'll tell you what's really funny there. I'm watching both of you. You're deadpan serious talking about it. Joe's starting to crack a smile. As I start cracking, Joe starts cracking, and you just carried on like we all know Ireland's going to win.
And Munster beat Zebra 45-29, and Connacht beat Scarlets 26-10. Leinster beat Cardiff 33-20, and Ulster beat the Dragons 49-26. That's the 4 Irish provinces. I think that Wales could learn a lot from Irish rugby, the structure of Irish rugby, because their club rugby is certainly not competitive, certainly not,
And, there was a good program. It's worth watching on. If you go on iPlayer, Wales have there's rugby special every Sunday on BBC Two.
Yeah.
BBC Wales has what they call Scrum 5, and it's worth watching because they're very they highlighted last week on their last week's Scrum 5 that the game in Wales is actually going backwards. It's actually being overtaken now, believe it or not. The amount of participants in a certain age groups is all to do with it's being slaughtered by football.
Go away.
So Wales football is now getting more sort of 14 to 18-year-olds than Wales rugby.
Yeah, the underage structure indeed is something in our sports. We in our own sports here for Gaelic football and hurling. It's
what they were saying on there was that schools are now concentrating more on football than they are with rugby.
Yeah.
You've then got like all the feeding teams. There's a couple of clubs who are not your you're not your Cardiffs or your Ospreys or any of that, but the clubs underneath that level.
Yes.
Like the town clubs like Caerphilly and Merthyr Tydfil.
Neath, I remember Neath.
Yeah. They're actually struggling to put an under-18s team out on a weekend.
Connectley, Pontypridd, they were all traditional.
They were big teams.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But they're struggling now to put an under-18s out.
They've been struggling since the mines closed, Derwynne.
Well, I just think football in Wales, because of that a few years back, that big success they had with the football, has turned kids more towards football than they are towards the rugby. Which, if you went back 50 years, that would have been unheard of.
It would.
And if you went back 25 years, unheard of.
So,
even if you went back 15 years, it was still unheard of. Whereas now, it's a football. The uptake of football has overtaken rugby.
Yeah. So, Joe, next Saturday, 4:45 our time. I know what time will be there where you are. Ireland versus England at 4:45 next Saturday.
Yeah, that'd be about.
Derwynne, is that what we watch it?
4:09. Yeah,
we'll tell him all about this one tonight.
I mean, you're talking there about the what they could learn from Irish rugby, the structure of Irish rugby, but realistically, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but isn't Irish rugby favoured a little bit by having the 4 provinces as club teams with the amount of draw that they have? And not just that, but especially in Leinster, where you've got a lot of the top colleges that are just rugby schools.
Yeah,
and you have that centre that with the biggest population centre in Ireland, in Dublin, you have that driving Irish rugby, whereas Wales and Scotland do not really have. I mean, you have a team in Edinburgh, you have a team in Glasgow, or whatever structure they have up there. The same in England. I mean, I don't think that like teams in England really, and when you're looking at the likes of the Leicester Tigers and Northampton and Exeter, I mean, the populations down there to support their teams, really are not big enough.
It's interesting you say that though, Joe, because if you think of like Exeter and Bath and even Bristol, they haven't got big football teams.
Right.
No.
So when you look at, if you lived in Bath and you said, well, what am I going to do Saturday afternoon? It's a full house at Bath every game. It's a full house at Bristol for every game. Bristol Rovers and Bristol City don't get full houses.
Exeter
City don't get a full house, but Exeter Chiefs will have a full house at rugby.
But how big would their ground be? And I'm not talking about the support in terms of bodies coming through the turnstiles. I'm talking about the support of academies that they can have where they're able to bring kids in and be a part of that. I mean, the travel around there would have to be, I mean, insane for kids to come from so far away to go to get.
But I think your Baths and your Exeters and your Bristols, I think they have got an advantage because you've got more rugby playing schools than you have football playing schools around in those areas.
Well,
and if you look at the London clubs, if you look at London rugby teams like Wasps, Harlequins, London Irish, London Welsh, I mean, London Irish has gone.
London Irish was a huge club, and
London Welsh would have been 18,000 at Roslyn Park watching those.
I remember in the 1970s, London Irish were just a massive club.
Wasps can't even find a home in London.
No, and the Irish provinces, Ulster, Leinster, Munster, and Connacht, when they were restructuring the rugby, when professionalism came in here in Ireland, Connacht was the poor boy of the forum, and it had a very, it wasn't an attractive place for young lads to go on a trajectory of the Irish team and all that, because the team up to then was weighted heavily between Munster and Leinster. You might have a couple from Ulster, maybe one or two, but Munster and Leinster were the academy players were. But then, of course, they invested a lot of money into Connacht, did up all the ground. I think if we improve the facilities and take a proper approach to it, and as you can see, people like, well, they were lucky in a way, in Matt Hansen and Bundy Aki went to Connacht. They were attracted to play with Connacht. Those two people alone, those two players alone, gave an absolute incredible shot in the arm for Connacht rugby, you know. But the Irish Rugby Football Union had the foresight to give contracts to people to keep them at home, decent contracts. They had their Irish international contract and they had their provincial contract. But there's also an All-Ireland League, you know, where players have to play so many matches every year for their club, like Gary Owen, Shannon, Young Munster, you know, Richmond and clubs like that. So there's an actual structure. So if you're a young lad starting off, say, in Blackrock College or Presentation College in Cork, you know that there's a path there for you to make it if you're dedicated.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I know that because my own club, Richmond, have.
I mean, when you look at some of those, I mean, when you look at when you look at the London rugby teams, they're a little bit on the slide because they are competing with Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea. You've got massive distractions, for want of a better. You know, if I on a Saturday, I've got. You know, how many games of football could I see on a Saturday and how many games of rugby could I go and watch?
Yeah.
Probably a lot. But you sit there and kind of go, well, I'm spoilt for choice. So what's going to get the boot? You know, am I going to go and watch Arsenal play Tottenham or Chelsea play Fulham or United play, you know, Chelsea for argument's sake?
Yeah.
You're going to do that before you go and watch Harlequins.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And it's what I'm trying to get at. When you look at what the earlier comment about Bath, Exeter, smaller populations than London by what? Got to be 50 times, isn't it?
Yeah,
at least,
totally,
right?
absolutely.
And you stand there and look at it, but their rugby clubs are massively strong because they haven't got big football teams. They're not competing for the same spectator, are they?
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember when I was at Leicester, and the Leicester Tigers played at Welford Road, and they would fill Welford Road back in the 70s. Time. I mean, Welford Road is only a stone's throw from Filbert Street.
Yeah.
You go down Welford, you go up Welford Road, you take a right just before it, and you go down. You're at Filbert Street within 2 or 3 blocks. So they were very close to each other. But I remember that it used to be that rugby would be played on a Sunday.
Yeah.
as opposed to Saturday.
Yeah.
And so you can draw both sets of fans
Yes.
to it. And now, of course, the big problem that we have now is that the Premier League is playing games nearly 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So there's a whole schedule on Sunday that stops you from trying to do.
You're right, Joe. They're playing them on Friday night as well.
Yeah.
So they're dominating television coverage.
Yeah.
Which is,
well, they've definitely got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday for sure.
And Monday night.
They've probably got every other Wednesday, haven't they?
By the way, lads, Arsenal are 5-0 up and didn't have time yet.
But when you look at that, though, if you break down that model, if you had, I don't know, if you had £100,000 to spend on advertising on a sport, you could probably do football. You could do Brentford with 100,000. You get a Premier League, get boards around the side of the pitch with that.
Yeah.
Are you going to invest your 100,000 in rugby in Harlequins, for argument's sake? You're not, are you? Because the spectators through the turnstiles which is what you're after.
Yeah.
Because you want people, you want exposure, don't you?
You do, and
you get more bang for your buck with regards London side of it in football than you do with rugby. Yeah, so, in those Exeters and the Baths and all the rest of it, you get more bang for your buck from rugby.
Well, as we're on rugby, next weekend we have Italy and Scotland, which is on before the Irish England match on Saturday, and then on Sunday we have Scotland and Wales. Wales and France.
We're going to have some predictions, boys.
Well, considering that England have 66 million people and we have only under 5, one could make an excuse already. But I must say, on the positive side, I think this guy Courtney Laws I hope he's fully fit. He's a class act, I love to see good players playing at the top of their game. I think England will give Ireland a good match, a good test. But I can't see Ireland being beaten in Twickenham this time round. I can see Scotland beating Italy, even though Italy are playing well. And I think France will take care of Wales.
Yeah, I'd be going Ireland all day.
Yeah.
I'll go to Scotland all day. And I'll go France all day.
Yeah, that's it. It's like the Formula 1 at the moment. We know who's going to win. SportsView is the program. Tell all your friends about us. Press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe to our channel. Now, as I said, Arsenal are 5-0 up. This is Monday, the 4th of March at 20:43. They're 5-0 up in the last Premiership game of the weekend against Sheffield United. And it's not half time yet. So God only knows what it'll be. Golf over the weekend. The World Ladies Championship took place over in the Far East, and Hannah Green won it at -13. I saw a good bit of the golf. 74, 67, 67, 367s. So -13. Leona Maguire had her two middle rounds are very disappointing. She finished on +1 on 34th position. She had an opening 70. Then she had a 77 and a 75, which put Peter, and then she had a final round of 67, which retrieved some of it anyway. The DP World Tour was won by what's his name? Gumberg from America on -12 in a playoff against the South African. So he won the SDC Golf. And Live Golf, well, lads, I Live Golf is easy to watch now if you have Wi-Fi. It was won by Joachim Niemann from Chile. What a golfer. Did you see any of it, Derwynne?
Yeah, I watched a bit of the Live stuff.
And it's great to see Phil Mickelson firing in all cylinders again at -10.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Ooshausen and Schwartzel. They'll be two good outside bits of the Masters.
Yeah, and they've won it before.
Yeah, Ooshausen -13, Schwartzel -13. DeChambeau was in cracking form as well, -12. And then when you look down at the Cognitive Classic, that used to be the Honda Classic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Cognitive Classic. It's just finished today. It was rained off. And Shane Lowry was in contention, but he finished joint third. I just looked it up there a while ago, and when you look at the Live Golf top of the leaderboard, and look at this, with all due respects to the golfers, Ekrat won it at -17. Van Ruynen and Min Wheely were runners up at -14. Cameron Young was on -13. Knapp was at -13, and Lowry was at -13. So was Skins at 42 years of age, good from England. I know you know of him, Derwynne.
Yeah, he's been playing for a long time.
Yeah, he's finished at -13 as well. Billy Horschel, Mitchell, Noren, Novak, Laird, Yu, Ginn, Silverman. I don't know some of those guys. Isn't this one of the marquee tournaments of the year?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
There you go now. Well, I'm afraid. Anyway, that was it. They've got lovely story. If you're English, British, you're British to the backbone, or are you Welsh? Are you British or are you Welsh?
Well, look, I'm right. Football is England. Football will always be England. Rugby's always been Wales.
Okay. Well, Katie Boulter, I've been looking at her progress. She beat Kostick in 3 sets in the United States for her first 500 title, which is just a step below the Grand Slams, and it's fantastic progress for her because she's a very good player, and she seems to be a well I suppose presented lady as well. 5-7-6-2-6-2. But her boyfriend won the Mexican Open. Alex de Minaur, he beat Rudd 6-4-6-4. He got a taxi, a train, and a plane to be back to see her getting her trophy in America after winning the tournament. I thought a lovely story myself,
Yeah, it is that.
Yeah, it's a lovely story, You get a lot of the other stuff, but I think that's another story.
I'd do that if Joe was playing tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, buy a lottery ticket, you got a much better chance.
Would you sit? Send in the bill after. But
hey, just to touch on something you said there a while ago about Arsenal, right? Yeah. How red hot are they at the minute? They're 5-0 up at this stage in the game, right?
Yeah.
Home again. They beat Burnley. They scored 5 at Burnley.
Yeah.
They scored 6 at West Ham.
Yeah.
And where else did they go? They went to Newcastle and they scored 4.
7.
7 at Newcastle.
Scored 7 at somewhere. They scored 7 somewhere.
These guys are absolutely flying.
The interesting thing, Joe, is that he's 5-0 up. I'm sure Arteta's clever enough. He's going to put a load of kids out for the second half.
Yeah, but
they're playing best players again for Saturday.
Yeah, but they're playing Brentford Saturday at home.
Yeah, but he's got the opportunity now to rest, doesn't he?
Man United are at home to Everton next Saturday in the 12:30 game.
Well, that's got a banana skin written all over it, doesn't it?
Oh, that's got Everton's like happy days for Everton, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just. You just don't know what you're going to get from them. That's the.
Joe, when you listen to the crowd, and the crowd are on their backs because 606. 606 radio show last night with Savage and Sutton. I mean, the United fans who are phoning in are sick and tired to their back teeth of Ten Hag talking up about how good their performance was. Last night on 5 Live, he was actually saying how chuffed he was with the performance of United last night. And you're like, I know you might go, well, is that just a bit of like, well, I can't be honest and say they was crap. And I get that, but at the same time, I just don't think you can keep kidding people. Eventually, surely he's got to come out and just say, yeah, we just got beaten. Yeah. Man City are a great team. Yeah. We're not at that stage yet.
These people are well-paid professional soccer players in Manchester United. They're on massive salaries, and for the manager to be disingenuous like that, he's just falling into the same old trap as the rest of them did. They're not. They're not going to get any better when they hear crap like that out of the manager's mouth. They're not going to get.
They played well.
They're not going to get any better when they hear him speaking like that. They're none of their jobs are on the line. None of them.
Well, then you have to get some positivity from somewhere, because otherwise it's all just going to go down the drain in a hurry. And then if you go the other way and you say my players aren't this, my players aren't that, look at Troy Deeney. What happened to him? He said he comes out and he tells the truth. Everybody wants to hear it. What happens? 2 days later, he's on the dole. So you're in a position that you cannot say what you really think. What managers and coaches say behind closed doors are totally different to what they say to the public.
But what do you think Ten Hag said to his team at halftime against City?
At halftime, he said, "Hey, lads, great job. We're 1-0 up. Let's keep it going in the second half. Let's keep it tight for as long as we can, and hold what we've got and go from there, and see if we can nick another one on the break." Which is that was their plan.
Yeah.
Drop back and use the pace of Garnacho and Rashford up front and what have you, and see if and it worked for them. They got the goal. They nearly got a second one. They were a bit unfortunate, but everybody knows they're light years away from City and Liverpool and Arsenal right now. Yeah. So it's United are just, it is so difficult. People don't understand sometimes how a big club, like it happened to Liverpool, right, when they went into decline after they won the last league championship after Kenny left and what have you, and it took them 30 years to win it again, something like that. How long has it taken Arsenal to get back to winning a Premiership title? I mean, the last one they won was Arsene Wenger. That was when, back in the 90s, early 2000s, something like that. And United now are in this same position that once it starts going downhill, it just keeps going and going. And they're talking now about, we talked a little bit last week about it, but they're talking about building a new Old Trafford.
Yeah.
The Wembley of the North. Well, be very careful what you're doing here, because look what happened to Arsenal. Look what happened to Spurs.
Yeah.
They're still trying to make their way back. Although Spurs had one good year where they got to the Champions League final and what have you. But, if United go down that route, trying to build a team and build a stadium at the same time and finance that is a huge challenge. And it's only now people are looking at Wenger and the job that he did to keep them in the Champions League positions every year.
I mean, with Wenger, they were competitive. Nobody is expecting Man United to win the Champions League or the Premiership. What they want the Man United team, with a team that club that's big, is to have them competitive in the top 4 or 5 year in, year out, and building and attracting good players to the club. But things are not looking good for them,
Well, they're not looking good. When you have a parent club like Fiorentina talking about Amrabat, and that they think he's losing value at United now by playing there. Hang on a second. The guy gives a goal away at the weekend. Miscontrols the ball, and City scored their third goal. He's not the player that he looked in the World Cup. I can tell you that right now.
No.
Not that. And United thought they were getting the guy that played in the World Cup. They were getting that guy, and he hasn't proven to be that guy yet.
No.
So they're they're in a position where they're still paying the price for poor signings
Poor
prior,
manager.
prior to this, and now Ten Hag has got his guys in, and some of those guys are getting coming under pressure. But if you look at Liverpool and if you look at Arsenal, they signed some guys that struggled early on as well, but they were lucky enough to be able to get them through that, and now they're making a contribution. But it's such a big club that they're constantly hammered for everything, and it must be it just, as players, it must be difficult to be around that kind of environment. It's very, very tough, and it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to get back.
Makes you wonder just how good Ferguson was, doesn't it?
Well, and that's the thing with it,
Well, I think that's unfair to a lot of managers. You can't compare a manager to Ferguson, who was left there through horrific times at the club, thick and thin, for 30 years. There's no manager getting those chances anymore.
I mean, that was like the perfect storm, wasn't it?
Huh?
Yeah.
It was the perfect storm, wasn't it? Because you had all those good young players coming through the academy.
Yeah.
You had Ferguson, who was willing to throw them in and go and play.
Yeah.
And you had like the perfect storm. You had good players coming along with a good manager coming along with a discipline and everything else. And like you just said earlier on, Joe, you had Arsenal in decline. You had Liverpool in decline. Man City didn't exist, did they?
No.
No.
So when you look at it,
they still wouldn't without their money. Go on.
It was United were winning everything because nothing else was challenging them, wasn't it?
Well, it was. I mean, there wasn't as much as there is now. When you look at what you've got in the Premier League now, when you look at, you got City, what it is. You got Liverpool, what they are. You got Arsenal, what they are. You got Spurs now resurging. You had Chelsea prior to that.
Aston Villa are doing well.
Yeah, Aston Villa are flying it.
Newcastle got back in the horse over the weekend.
So it's a bit, but I think sometimes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes we get carried away by this whole thing of United producing all these young players. They did it during the Busby Babes time, and they had players coming through and through and through, but then it dried up for a while.
Yeah.
And you got the occasional one and what have you. And of course, some of them turned out to be brilliant. You have George, and you have guys like that are brilliant. But then there was a long period where they were buying a lot of players, and a lot of the guys that were coming through were not great quality. Then all of a sudden, you get the Ferguson years where he gets the Beckhams and he gets the Nevilles and he gets the Nicky Butts and the
Scholesy,
Paul Scholes and Giggsy and those guys, and that's a great class. And what he has to do is fill around those guys for positions he doesn't have, and he gets that and he makes it work. But the problem with that is that everybody looks at this young team and goes, well, why am I going to go to United if they're all still there? I'm not going to get in the first team with them there.
No.
So all of a sudden, the youth system goes kind of, they get the odd one every now and again.
Yeah.
But a lot of these kids are bought from over.
I don't know, Joe, but you read over the weekend, last couple of days, that John O'Shea has been appointed as interim manager of the Republic.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a good appointment myself. That's my own opinion. And I hope he gets the job, I hope somebody...
But, the only thing I'd say about that, again, and I've said before, it's a bit like Lee Carsley, John has not managed a club. He's not managed a club, whether it's in the Premiership or the Championship or what have you. And I think that makes it a little more difficult for.
By the way, before I forget it, Joe, Pike are into the quarterfinal of the Junior Cup.
Semi-final.
Or the semi-final of the FAI Junior Cup. Oh,
yes, I saw that.
They beat regional after extra time. You know,
it always happen. Two Limerick teams draw each other. Yeah.
Well, they're the strongest, I suppose. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's happened so many times. It can't be coincidence. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's those Dubliners. They're always up.
What's the song? What's the song? I wish I was a Londoner or something. What's the thing about the Londoners?
I wish I was a North Londoner, not a South Londoner.
Anyway, lads, we've come to the end of another edition of this SportsView. We'll be on here next Monday night with the ramifications of the Six Nations, and we'll still be smiling, Derwynne, win, lose, or draw, because I think it's going to be a very tough match between Ireland and England.
No, Ireland.
Yes, I think it is. I think it's going to be. It's going to be.
England have more to play for than we have.
Yeah.
No, come on.
I mean, if England win, right? Do they get a share of the Six Nations?
No, if England will win, Ireland can still win the championship. Ireland will win the championship if they win the last two matches, or even lose one and win one, because they'll have more points accrued in the table.
You'd have to get England.
Huh?
Tries to get bonus points as well to make any kind of difference to the championship.
The board. Okay, guys. From myself, from Joe Waters, and from John. So we see you again next Monday. Take care, lads, and good sport for the weekend.
See you, boys.
Bye.